I think Antonio Brown, this weekend, I went and looked up his history, his college. I think you could spot it really early. In fact, I called one of my best friends in the NFL who's friends with Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin told my friend this weekend, we know my friend, by the way, he goes, you have no idea how well we hid stuff. He goes, you heard about it in week 14. We were dealing with this the last 2 years with AB. That's what Tomlin told my friend. Like it's a lot of work. And Mike, by the way, very pro player, like Pete Carroll. He likes guys to get gassed up. So when you look at this Antonio Brown situation, is a team at fault? Is the league at fault over the helmet issue? How does it land for you?
Well, first I'm going to address the Mike Tomlin thing really quick and briefly. Every coach hides inner organization, locker room, laundry.
They do.
Every coach does. Specifically when it's related to your stars. You just hide it. You don't want it out there. As far as the Antonio Brown helmet issue and all of this, like I'm on his side when it comes to fighting it to a certain extent. And this is why, because I've gone through this. I've had to change my helmet.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. It is a big deal. Anytime you change what has been the norm, you're going to put up some type of resistance. We just don't hear it going on like this to where guys try to come at the league the way Antonio Brown is and handle it in his way, in his manner. But everyone, I don't care who it's been that's had to change their helmet, no one has just said, okay, I'll change it. No, it's a big deal because you've been wearing the same helmet or same piece of equipment for so long, it becomes a part of you.
But a pilot has to every year go into the cockpit and they change equipment. My dentist now uses a laser to clean my teeth. It's awesome. We live in a world where the NFL is consumed almost with safety regulations. So the NFL is just, by the way, Brady said yesterday, he goes, I don't like my new helmet either, but what am I going to do about it? I'm not disputing that. I remember when they took typewriters out of my office when I first started and gave me a computer, and I grumbled for 2 weeks. I'm not disputing that it creates discomfort. But do you go public? Do you file a grievance? Do you not show up to camp? I mean, that to me is beyond. Now you're disruptive.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you feel strongly about it. And I think for Antonio Brown, he obviously feels very strongly about, I don't want to part ways with my old helmet. And I can get that because I had a Rydell helmet that I felt like I could visibly see any and everything. It was open. I got hit in probably my nose and my face several times because I was just so exposed. But there came a time where that helmet grew to be extinct, where it was outdated and it wasn't as safe. And just like a vehicle sitting in a car, like no Tesla or no 2019 vehicle is going to put in a seatbelt from 1966. It's just not going to happen. Right. Once you've advanced the safety precautions, you're going to stick with that theme and moving forward. And it's no different with the helmets. But there are some people who will go back and love that 1966 vehicle and will put that seatbelt on because that's what comes with that vehicle. And they're set in their ways. This is what we're seeing with Antonio Brown, not wanting to part ways with what has been his constant and his norm. It has absolutely nothing to do with him trying to go against what the NFL is doing. It's just a part of what he's done all of his career, the equipment he's used all of this career. And this is what people don't understand. Like, this isn't like he hasn't been wearing this helmet and all of a sudden it's not protecting him. It's just that other helmets have proven to perform better. And so this is on the lower echelon of performing helmets. So they're banning it now. It's the same difference, the same thing that happened with my helmet. It wasn't that the helmet wasn't going to protect me. It just wasn't going to protect me as well as the new helmets that had come out.
All right, we'll take a break. Helmet talk. I'm going to ask you about Dak. I'm going to ask you about the contract, how players look at money. Aaron Rodgers says we're all fake news, which we're not, of course, because he brought all the stuff up. Then we responded to it. And now today he says we're all fake. That's coming up. Greg Jennings, Super Bowl, Pro Bowler, coming up next. The Herd. I ran into Melvin Gordon at the Las Vegas airport this weekend. Very nice kid, very reasonable, but he understands what's happening to running backs.
Of course.
It's what's happening to centers in the NBA with analytics. If you can't shoot a jumper, we don't want your size.
Yep.
If you're a running back now and can't catch, that's why Zeke and Gurley are valuable. Melvin Gordon can catch. The Adrian Peterson days are over.
Done.
They're done. Like if you're a center and can't hit a jumper, that's why Brooke Lopez is still in the league and why
because he can step out on the perimeter.
Okay, so it's funny about this when I look at Chris Johnson saying that about running backs. So you were a wide receiver from the very beginning, right? Mm-hmm. You never were a running back. You're too tall.
Well, no, I was a running back initially.
In high school.
In high school, I was a running back.
Why'd you shift?
We had no wide receiver.
And so you had to go out there.
And so I was like, I can catch. I'll go out there. And then I saw how easy the game was to impact the game. You get by this one defender and you got one more to beat. Who can't do that?
Right.
And it just went from there.
I feel bad as I was talking to Melvin Gordon about the running back situation, and we've talked about the Zeke holdout. And listen, I like Zeke. But I look around this league, and that Dallas offensive line has produced 3 different 1,000-yard rushers. His relationship with Amari Cooper, I thought, the last 9 games they played together, they were 7-2. They were 3-4 when Zeke and Dak played together without Amari. I mean, if you ran an NFL team, would you pay Melvin Gordon?
I would pay Melvin Gordon, but I wouldn't. I would hesitate because that's a position that you could win by committee.
Mostly New England, Philadelphia, Colts.
I mean, you look at Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay Packers. When's the last time we called out a running back?
Well, New England, Philadelphia.
Like it just doesn't. It's like you don't technically need that guy in the backfield to win. Like, don't get me wrong, they're valuable when you get the right one that can be versatile.
But you still better be very aware of exactly what you're paying.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to be mindful of that because the shelf life, it's just been proven. They don't have longevity.
Ask yourself this. If Zeke couldn't catch, you'd let him go today. The 2-year demand, you'd let him go today. So even Zeke, as a great running back, the component that makes him worth the big money is his ability to move outside, and Dak can deliver the ball to him. I mean, that to me, Adrian Peterson's over.
Absolutely.
That's a dinosaur.
Absolutely. When you look at running backs in today's game, if they're not a first, second, and third down option, what are we paying them for? Alvin Kamara. The reason why he is so special and he will get paid is because you can split him out and line him up as a hybrid receiver if you want to, and he can be just as impactful, and you have to cover him with a linebacker because if you put him in the backfield, you don't want an extra defensive back on the field. You want a linebacker that can run support. So you're in a bind if you're the defense. So guys like that, they become invaluable, but they still have a certain shelf life.
Yeah. So whenever I bring you on the show, I'm careful not to bring you on just to talk about Aaron Rodgers because, A, I don't want to put you in that position, and B, it would get tiresome. But it was interesting that Aaron came out this weekend. John Kuhn was a former fullback. He went on his podcast. We have the bite where he said basically the media is fake. It's a slow news cycle. They're just making stuff up. My pushback is, what do you mean you didn't spend time talking about it? You came out and told us about the audible system. We didn't know. You came out and called the joint practices stupid. We didn't know. You talked about it, and we reacted to an iconic superstar, handsome Hollywood movie star talking about it. There's nothing fake about it. If you didn't talk, I wouldn't go out in the air and say, I just have this feeling Aaron hates joint practices. I responded to you saying you hated joint practices.
Yeah, there's a lot that I can sit here and say I agree with Aaron Rodgers because I've been in that situation where what you say isn't always conveyed or
accurately.
It's like I can sit here and do this interview and somebody will subtitle it Greg Jennings talking or down talking Aaron Rodgers again, just because I don't agree with everything they said.
Right.
That's not at all what I'm talking about right now, or only what I'm talking about. But that's the way media is, just to get clicks, to draw interest, to have people view whatever it is they're writing or displaying.
This is why you should read the article, not the headline. Increasingly, people just read the headline and don't read the article. I think this is a very fair criticism of the American media in general. The guy that writes the story or the woman doesn't write the headline. They write it, send it into the company,
yes.
and the company writes the headline. I've even gone to my people before. I've done this probably 3 times since I've been here. And said, hey, I don't like the headline on this. You're making it salacious. This is what I said about the Chicago Bears. So that is something I in the media deal with, my own headline writers. Because I'll do stuff, it'll get released in a podcast, and there'll be this headline that is making it sound very dramatic. And I get why we're doing it, so people tune in and listen to it, but it bothers me. So that's your problem.
Yeah, that's my problem. But then on the flip side of it is, I shouldn't say on the flip side, on the same side of it, as a player, like you're asked to answer questions. And everyone talks about changing the narrative or answer them however you want to. Well, if you're that guy and you never really answer the question, then no one really wants to talk to you. So when you're asked the question and you are honest, it's like, oh, he doesn't like joint practices. Let's talk about it. Well, I can defend him in a sense, because
none of you guys like him.
Because you're showing your opponent everything that you're doing, and they get to see it from an inside perspective that no one else typically gets to see. So for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not saying this is the only reason why, but I could definitely see why he wouldn't like the joint practice, because he's a big nonverbal communicating quarterback, which means he's signaling often. And so the more you're signaling, the more opportunity it is for your opponent now to get a beat on, oh, that signal is for this. Or now they see what routes go with what signals, and then you're constantly trying to evolve your signaling throughout the season because you feel like it's out there or somebody has a jump on it or a beat on it. So I can see why a quarterback of his magnitude that is more or heavy in nonverbal communication with his perimeter guys wouldn't like joint practices.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.